Hey guys, my name is Mitsumiya, and today I want to take a look at the new game World War III. I think the best way of describing it is that it essentially is a hardcore version of the Battlefield series. Just after a couple of minutes of play, you're gonna notice the similarities. Even the developers have admitted and stated that they're huge fans of the past Battlefield games, and you're gonna notice that influence throughout your time in this game. This doesn't necessarily have a class-based system, but it does have something very similar. So you won't be playing as the medic with their predefined weapons that can only be used as the medic class, or I'm gonna play as a support character. You basically choose your loadout with whatever weapon and customization or armor that you select. There's an insane amount of customization here. It's probably one of the coolest aspects about World War III, and we'll get to that here in a second. But you choose your loadout, and then you choose your role. For example, if you notice that your team doesn't have a lot of quote-unquote medics on your side, the next time you spawn on in, you can select the health bag and provide that assistance. Now, I don't believe there's any way for you to revive in World War III. I think that the developers are trying to go for a more realistic approach, so there's not going to be that capacity. But the next time you spawn on in, if you notice that your team, everyone's switching over to the medic bags, well, then you can bring in some ammo pouches. A lot of the same kinds of gadgets that you see in the Battlefield series for those team dynamics are here in this game. You need to take care of vehicles, switching over to the anti-tank mines to take care of that. And so essentially what this allows for is that you have a crazy amount of flexibility when you jump on in, and you can adapt to pretty much any situation the next time you spawn on in, but it also allows you to tailor the game to your specific playstyle. I want to play as a medic that's able to use shotties. I want to play as this class in a certain way, and it gives you that freedom to do so, which I think is kind of cool. Now, as for that customization, it is staggering. I think this is one of the most in-depth customizations that I've seen in a video game in a very long time, especially for a modern FPS like this. It is absolutely incredible. Now, admittedly, there isn't a lot of weapons in the game right now. I'm sure they're going to be adding more and more as time progresses because this is an early access. But basically, you select the weapon that you desire, and then you can go all out on how you want that to look, not only from a visual standpoint, but also how you want the customization to impact the performance. Everything is on a weight-based system. The heavier your character is, the slower they're going to be. If you want to have the best armor, the best weapon attachments, you want to go fully decked out and essentially be a juggernaut, you can do that, but you're not going to move very quickly. That movement penalty is pretty severe, and so you're probably going to want to have more of a playstyle that's more defensive. If you need to move from point A to point B, especially out in the open, if anyone sees you, even though you do have a lot of armor, because this game is going for more of a hardcore approach, you're still not going to last very long. On the opposite end of the spectrum, though, if you choose a light loadout, you move ridiculously quickly. I remember the first time I played, I selected a heavy, and then the next game I played as a light, and I was blown away by the difference between the two. You really move when you're playing as this light loadout. Now, the downsides of this, of course, though, is that you probably don't have all the attachments that you would want to fully deck out that weapon, because they do add some extra weight, and also, you probably don't have the best armor as well, and so people are going to be able to take you out quicker. Even though you're able to flank around, you're able to reinforce or go for different objectives faster than the heavier counterpart, it does come with some pretty significant drawbacks. Now, not all the customization is purely stat-based, and there's a lot of just simply visual customization. For example, if you decide to use a grip, the grip itself is going to weigh a little bit, which is going to have that impact on your character's weight, something you have to consider, but it's also going to reduce your recoil, which is a pretty nice benefit. But if you want to choose between a potato grip or a vertical one, I believe within that category, it's a purely visual difference. And so I know that some people might be disappointed by this. They wanted every single one of the grips to have a slightly different stat. I don't think that's the way that it works. Maybe in the future the developers have plans on changing it so that it's just simply not visual, but I think that that would be a pretty monumental task for them to undertake. And so all in all, at least with regard to the customization, I'm very impressed. The one thing I am a little bit worried about is that with all this different variety and all these different ways to change the look of your character and also to change the stats on your weapons, that they're going to have a difficult time balancing properly. If you're able to have these different modifiers, I'm sure some things are going to rise to the top and it's going to become maybe a little bit too good, and that is going to be one thing they're going to have to look out for. But as long as they're able to do this right and they're able to do a good job here, I really do think that this is going to be one of the biggest selling points because it is pretty incredible. Now, as for the actual gameplay itself, like I mentioned, they're going for a more hardcore approach. If you're able to get a flank on someone, they get taken out practically instantaneously, and the reason for that is because of this new armor dynamic. A lot of other FPS games, the place you want to aim is at their chest and go for the head. That's like the sweet spot. But in World War III, because there is this armor component right where their chest is located, especially if they have the best armor in the game, you're not going to do a whole lot of damage. Probably the best illustration of this is when you yourself get taken out. You'll notice it's a really cool system that it actually shows you where you got shot and how much damage it did against you. If someone shot you in the chest where you have that awesome armor at, it might only do 12 damage. But if you get shot in the stomach area where you don't have that protection, it can do upwards of like 82 damage. And so it adds in this different level of strategy and a different way of thinking when you're going against these players. I will fully admit, a lot of times I just completely ignore that and I just try to rip into the enemy itself and just completely ignore that armor component and even go for their head because that just works in other video games and it still does work here. But if you think about it a little bit more and you change where you're aiming and you actually go for their stomach, you're going to be rewarded for that. The system also heavily rewards you for flanking. Now I realize that this is true for basically every video game out there. If you're able to get the flank on someone, you're probably going to win, but it's even more so here. Because that armor only really protects you from the front, if you hit from someone from behind, they drop like a rock. And so while I think someone mentioned to me that they plan on adding more varieties of armor that's going to protect you in different regions, at least right now, you need to have really good situational awareness. You need to be aware of what's happening around you because if someone does get the flank off on you, you're going to be back at the spawn screen very quickly. Now, one thing I have been a little disappointed by is that I was expecting there to be more players on these servers. Now, someone said that because they are having some technical issues with just servers overall, they've reduced the player count, and so maybe in the future they're going to have some more, but I noticed that there was a lot of downtime. Now, I understand that this isn't going to be a clone of Battlefield. They don't need to have 32 versus 32, but it seems like a lot of these maps, because they're quite large, some of them are pretty massive, and because you can't spawn on an objective that's being taken, you have to run there from another objective, it leads to a lot of moments where you're just standing around or waiting for action to happen. And so while maybe this is just a personal complaint, other people may not have an issue with this because they like that more slow, methodical, tactical experience. That was one thing that I noticed. Now, probably the biggest weakness of this game right now, though, is their server stability. So if you guys weren't aware, for the first couple of days, no one was really able to play the game because no one could literally connect to their servers. Now, thankfully, after those first couple of days, they were able to resolve the issue a little bit, but apparently not completely. I just played today, and I was trying to join the North American servers, and I was left on the connecting screen for 10 minutes. The only way that I was actually able to connect was to join the Asian servers, and while it does work, I can still enjoy the game, it's not a perfect experience. Going against people that are across the world, there's always going to be a ping issue, and that's not really the best experience. And so while I really enjoy what this game has to offer, the gameplay itself is really satisfying. Running around and taking people out is a joy. Like, the weapons are really fun to use, there's a lot of variety there, there's an insane amount of customization, but they really got to get this server problem fixed. After a couple of weeks, these server issues are still present, and if you're jumping on in expecting to have a flawless experience, just simply getting into the game itself, you might be a little disappointed. And so overall, would I recommend this to anyone that is looking for a more hardcore Battlefield experience? Yes, but you may want to wait a while because of all of the optimization issues, because of the server instability, and really just waiting for the game to have more features, because right now there's only 3 maps, there isn't a whole lot of content there, it may be beneficial to wait a little bit longer before you jump on in. There is a lot of potential here. I really enjoy the gameplay. It's a lot of fun when it works and you don't have those low slowdowns. But because it is an early access, it does come with that baggage. But yeah, guys, that is about it for my first look at the new game World War III. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought about what I discussed in today's video. Have you had a chance to play? Do you like the direction that they're going with it? Are you a little disappointed? Let me know down below in the comments. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.